6 tips for how to break out of your comfort zone as a quiet expert and introvert entrepreneur online. This program includes 6 powerful tips related to how to break out of your comfort zone if you're a quiet expert or an introvert entrepreneur online. If you're looking for actionable steps you can take immediately, you'll also discover 3 actionable steps to get you started. Hello and welcome. It's Bayo here from quietexperts.com, the world's first resource dedicated specifically to introvert entrepreneurs online. Now here are the 6 tips for how to break out of your comfort zone as a quiet expert and introvert entrepreneur online. Tip number 1, examine your daily routine. What I want you to do here is take a look at the types of day-to-day activities you're currently engaged with. See if there are ways to do them differently than the ways you've been doing them to date. Now, this is important because it has the power to give you a renewed sense of value and purpose in those same specific activities. You may also find that you learn something in the process, which in itself would be an additional benefit. So tip number 1 is that you should examine your daily routine. Tip number 2, examine your career, your profession, or your business. Let me ask you this. What are you currently doing in your career or in your profession or in your business? Is it something you still want to do? Or do you daydream about doing something completely different? If you're constantly thinking about how great your life would be if you were doing something different, it may be time to explore that thing. If this is the case, you'll need to be proactive and start learning as much as you can about the new path. Talk to people that are involved with it and even offer to volunteer if necessary to get some experience. So tip number 2 is that you should examine your career, your profession, or your business. Tip number 3, learn, and learn. When people get too comfortable at something, too comfortable at anything for that matter, this is usually the time that something happens to disrupt that comfort zone. Therefore, my advice to you here is do your best not to stay comfortable. Because of your introversion, this will require you to stay on top of your game, so as to speak, and you're going to need to continue to learn. Learning should never be looked at as something you stop after school or maybe after formal education ends. Too many people, introverts and also other personality types, make this mistake. What happens is that they eventually discover that their skills have become obsolete, not all at once, but over time. So tip number 3 is that you should learn, and learn. And remember, once again, this is 6 tips for how to break out of your comfort zone as a quiet expert and introvert entrepreneur online. And it's Bayo here. Tip number 4, learn to anticipate and accept change. The one thing that you can depend on in life is change. And change is a big part of the solutions that I provide to major industry-leading Fortune 500 organizations as a business coach. Now, change is going to happen all throughout your life. Nothing can change that. And some changes will be great, while others, well, those will be challenging and may even be difficult for you to accept. For example, some people you know will move away. Some others will pass away. You'll be faced with life decisions that overwhelm you as an introvert. When you're more accepting of changes and do your best to account for them, you can prepare yourself better when they do eventually happen. Having said that, you can never be truly 100% prepared, but any preparation can lighten the severity of change. And so tip number 4 is that you should learn to anticipate and accept change. Tip number 5, do your best not to change too much too fast. It's good to accept change. Why? because change will happen, as I mentioned earlier on, no matter what you do. While it's good to accept change, if you take on too many changes at the same time, you'll find it difficult to manage them. There will be situations where this can't be helped. However, if you have control of several of the changes, my advice to you as a fellow introvert professional is that you should take them slowly. This is what the majority of quiet experts that I know and that I've worked with and that I've coached, and those I continue to coach, this is what works best for them. So get used to small changes and then take on others once you're able to deal with those or cope with them. Allow yourself to get used to one change at a time, and you'll find out that managing change and breaking out of your comfort zone will be a lot easier. So tip number 5 is that you should do your best not to change too much too fast. And finally, but definitely not the least of these 6 tips, is that you should help others manage change. And this can happen in a professional or a personal setting. Even though change is something you can depend on, this doesn't make it easy for many people to handle, even non-introverts. If you make yourself willing, or more willing I should say, to accept changes, you'll be able to help others do the same. For instance, if there's a company that's relocating to a new area and you know someone who's involved in that change, who the change is happening to, it may be that that person is struggling, or those people that you know are struggling with this change. Well, what you can do to break out of your comfort zone, we're still on the same theme, is that you can help them see the benefits of the change rather than letting them focus solely on the negative aspects. Not everyone is going to be receptive. However, if you help out even a few people who are going through major life changes or transitions, you'll have done something good for a fellow human being. And always be sensitive to the fact that everyone deals with change in their own way, and that also applies to you. So those are the 6 tips for how to break out of your comfort zone as a quiet expert and introvert entrepreneur online. And here are the 3 bonus actionable steps that I promised to share with you. Number 1, do something that would shock your friends. Maybe you swore in the past, that you would never go skydiving. Well, if that's the case, go skydiving. The point here is that I want you to focus on doing something that is highly uncharacteristic of you so that you can gradually but surely expand your comfort zone. So if skydiving isn't your thing, that's fine. Do whatever it is that is really uncharacteristic of you. Bonus and immediately actionable step number 2 is that you should walk up to a total stranger, and just hear me out here. Walk up to a total stranger and introduce yourself. That's all. You're not asking them for a date. You're not asking them to marry you or anything like that. Just walk up to a total stranger and introduce yourself, and try to get a conversation going to the point where, if possible, you both would like to meet again. And finally, actionable tip number 3, start up a hobby that you've put off because you thought it was maybe too hard. Often, and this is true for any sort of situation that this applies to, hobbies or other interests, the act of just getting started with something can show that what you've been trying to accomplish isn't as difficult as you initially thought. When you do this, you set up a mental barrier that when you do things are difficult before you've done them, you set up a mental barrier that gets broken once you begin. And so those are the 3 actionable steps that I want to share with you that are immediately actionable now. And so once again, this has been 6 tips for how to break out of your comfort zone as a quiet expert and introvert entrepreneur online. If you need more information, more resources, go to quietexperts.com. That's quietexperts.com. Until next time, it's been Bayo here. Thanks for joining me.